The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben want to remind you about Win Ticket Wednesday, your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next week, you can win tickets to go to ski-joring. Ski-joring? It returns to Heber City January 16th and 17th. Tickets will be for Friday. You can get your tickets, and I'll go ahead and spell it. PROSKIJOR.com.
That didn't help. Will you say it again for us?
PROSKIJOR.com.
ProSkiJor.com.
ProSkiJor.com. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
You can listen all day on Wednesday or get your tickets today for your, but listen on Wednesday for your chance to win.
Ski-joring is a winter sport where a person on skis is pulled by a horse, dog, or vehicle. Derived from the Norwegian ski driving.
I like it.
Yeah, sounds pretty cool, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, why not? I always wanted to try kite skiing.
Looks hard.
Well, kite surfing looks hard. I think kite skiing looks easier.
Yeah, I believe that.
I don't know. I'm probably
ground
wrong.
below you.
Yeah.
None of them are probably easy.
No. I always thought, though, keeping an eye out for the waves while also keeping an eye on your kite would be difficult. Maybe that would be the trouble with kite skiing is like watching for the trees while also trying to fly a kite.
Yeah.
We're going to talk to Steve Bartle here momentarily. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on. We'll get his thoughts on the Scalley press conference, on the transfer portal, all of the above. In fact, let's get to him. Go ahead, Christian.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Happy Friday to you, Steve. How are you?
Oh, that's a loaded question. How are you guys doing? That's what I'm more concerned about. How are you guys doing?
You fibber.
And you don't need to worry about us. We're doing great. But, Steve, I want to ask you, I said this to Jake in the last segment. Are you surprised that less talent hasn't followed Kyle Whittingham to Michigan? Or that, I guess I should say that more talent hasn't followed him?
Yeah. It's been interesting to kind of follow this, over the last week or so is, coming off of the Las Vegas Bowl win, I talked to a couple of people who kind of said it pretty bluntly. They expected, a pretty significant, exodus, right? I think I mentioned last week, Ben, with you is, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 30 to 40 players into the portal, and we have not seen that. And I think I was talking with, somebody last night who gave a lot of credit to Morgan Scalley and what he's been able to do. They feel that player retention has gone really well. They haven't been able to keep everybody, which is understandable given the situation. But they've been able to keep a lot of the players, bought into the program. And so, I have been a little surprised that we haven't seen more. But I think that is because Morgan Scalley and what he's been able to do, the energy that he's brought to the program and sort of the vision and what he's selling, he's doing a lot right now to keep guys bought in and going the extra mile for some players as well. And he's showing how committed he is to this group. So he's done a lot, and it sounds like things are going well on the player retention front.
Curious to your reaction to the Morgan Scalley press conference introducing him as the next head coach at the University of Football.
Captivating. Man, you listen to that, you watched him, he was captivating. I've talked with multiple media members, and, we know what our job is, right? We are there to provide context, provide insights from the event. And during that press conferences, right, we're supposed to tweet out quotes and insights and takeaways. And, as the press conference started and we heard from President Randall, we heard from Mark Harlan, I was sending out those tweets. But then as Morgan Scalley got to talking and, as he got through the first couple of minutes, and all of that, just found myself like fully engaged in the moment and forgetting to do my job. And that just wasn't me. It was every media member there. And I think he did a tremendous job of, hitting on a lot of key notes, right? He gave credit to the past and the people that he looked up to and why he became a Utah fan. I think that was his overall message, is that, he is a Utah man. He grew up a Utah fan as a kid, thanks to his dad being a player, and he related to everybody in that room. And to connect on that level, I think did a lot for the fan base, for the supporters, for current players, former players as well. And it was really, really impressive to listen to him. He didn't have a prepared speech. He wasn't reading from notes. That was all him, off the cuff. And it was really, really impressive. And certainly he's had a lot of time to prepare for that speech. But no, he absolutely crushed it, and I think did a lot to provide sort of reinvigorated vibes around the program. So it was a significant moment for him and for the program overall.
Steve, what type of market do you think there has been for Devin Dampier? Do you think it's been robust? Are there a lot of teams coming for him? Are there teams maybe treating him as a contingency plan if they miss out on, say, a quarterback from Washington they thought they were going to get? Or do you think it's been quieter than expected?
Yeah, I think with Dampier, it's been interesting because obviously we know how productive he is. He finished a few yards short of 2,500 passing yards. He eclipsed 800 rushing yards. Just a lot of production. And if that's somebody else, right, somebody that's 6'1", that throws the ball with a little bit more velocity deep down the field, his market is probably pretty robust. He's going to have the Miamis, the Indianas, the Oregons coming after him. But because of Dampier and his stature and some of the limitations in his game, I do think that has limited his market. But for Utah, he is so important to everything that you do. He is the heartbeat, the core, the soul of your offense. And so I think there's I think Dampier has had a market, but I don't think it's been the same type of market as a Sam Levitt or, as a Brendan Sorsby for whatever reason. Watching those two on the same field earlier this year, Dampier was just so much more impactful than Sorsby. But again, you understand the limitations that he has in his game, but Dampier has just proven that he's going to go out, he's going to produce. Is it going to be elite? Is it going to be, pinpoint accuracy? Is it going to be, ripping throws 45 yards down the field? Maybe not. But he just has a way of impacting the offensive side of the ball. And I think it is a credit to who he is, the personality and leadership that he possesses above all else. So for Utah, you're super excited that you're probably going to be welcoming him back in 2026.
I'm sure Ben asked you about this last week, but
it was you who was talking to him last
I'm
week.
curious to your thoughts on the offensive coordinator hire. Not only, I think Kevin McGivern's going to be a good coach, but there were some other kind of bigger names, I guess you could say, mentioned. Give me your thoughts on the whole process, I guess.
Yeah, I think, there were some bigger names, involved and in the mix. Jonathan Smith, the former head coach, right, at Michigan State, at Oregon State. That's a pretty big name to be linked to in an offensive coordinator search. Marcus Arroyo was another name that was gaining a lot of buzz throughout the week. But with McGivern, when he was announced, obviously the initial reaction wasn't great. And what I've sort of likened it to is, you get your grade back after a test, you get a C+, you get a B-, but you're given the opportunity to go back and get half credit for correcting answers. And I think for a lot of us, the shock value, seeing that name, the name itself in that, you kind of felt underwhelmed a little bit, especially compared to some of the names that were linked to the job. But then as you start to dive into the offense and what it's about, his track record and what he's been able to do, and you sort of fill in those answers and you get the half credit for it, suddenly that hire, it starts to make a lot of sense. It's been what a lot of Utah fans have been wanting offensively. It's an offense that is catered to the passing game. It's an offense where there's been individuals that have eclipsed 1,000 yards receiving. It's also been an offense that has featured a heavy rushing attack. It's been diverse. It's been adaptable. And I had the opportunity to talk to Bryson Barnes, who obviously quarterbacked under McGiven this past season, and he shared some really interesting insights in how the offense is set up. There's NFL concepts, there's passing concepts that just are advanced, and I think that type of stuff has been missing for Utah. So again, I certainly understand the initial reaction, right? Because there were bigger names, but then as you start to do your homework and you start to dive into things, you come away really impressed. And bringing that, we saw sort of the same reaction to Jason Beck last year. Is the initial reaction wasn't great, but then you start to do a deep dive into things, and you marry that with some of the personnel that Utah has in place and are bringing in as well. And I think there's plenty of room for potential for this to really look like a great hire, after we get a couple seasons of McGiven at the helm.
Working with McGiven, according to Pete Thamel, will be Ryan Gunderson, the new quarterbacks coach, coming over from Oregon State. He's been at UCLA as well. Do you know anything about him, or what would you expect from him?
Yeah, he's worked with a lot of quarterbacks, and I think what that shows is, for Morgan, there's been a lot of talk about what he wants his offense to be, and he sort of hit on those notes, right? He wants to be known as a physical team, but he also wants to be innovative and on the cutting edge. And, talking to people that have been around Morgan the last few years, that's centered around, improving the quarterback play. And to have McGiven, who's worked with quarterbacks, who's worked with receivers, who's worked with the passing game, to now add Ryan Gunderson, who's been a designated quarterbacks coach for the last, 10 years or so. He's worked with quarterbacks like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Dante Moore, and that I think it speaks to the commitment that Morgan has to that quarterback position specifically. So, we'll certainly wait for the official announcement on Gunderson, but obviously with Thamel tweeting it, that's coming from a pretty solid source and all that. But I think, it just sort of speaks to what wants offensively, his commitment to the quarterback position, and what they want the offense to be under Scalley and his watch.
How many conference wins are you expecting from the basketball team?
Oh, man. Not many. I thought, Colorado was going to be a game that, if you're looking for a road win in the Big 12, that was probably, one of a couple where you're going to have your best shot at getting a road win. And, Utah lost by 12. It's going to be tough. And I think, again, this team, we understood what this was, right? We knew it was a tear it down to the studs type of rebuild. I was optimistic and said I thought that, this team could compete for 11, 12, 11, maybe the 10 spot. But, with the loss of their big guy to start the season, Babacar Faye, and that Utah lost a pretty significant piece to the puzzle, and it's made it hard. It's made it difficult. The struggles that they deal with are pretty consistent because it's rebounding, it's interior defensive presence, and that Utah just doesn't have a lot of depth. You get past your top three with Terrence Brown, Keanu Dodds, and Don McHenry. Utah doesn't have a lot beyond those three. And so this is it's going to be a tough grind. And seeing the difference between Utah and Arizona, the number one team in the country, from size, athleticism, talent, ability, and just the way that they play, Utah's got a long way to go in that conversation, right? Being one of the top 25 programs, Utah's got a long way to go from, roster construction to, implementing the play style the demands, the culture that you need to be a top competitive program. Jensen, again, this is the foundation he's laying, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time to get this program where it needs to be, where it is contending, at the top of the Big 12.
Steve, we appreciate you and all of your very fine work. We will be following as usual. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the family this weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, Jake. Have a good one, man.
Will do, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thanks, pal. I like that, Steve.
Yeah, big time. Big Steve fan.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
He certainly seems very confident that Devin Dampier is going to be back. And when Steve says that, he generally knows.
And very confident that the basketball team will not do a whole lot of winning in the Big 12.
Not this year. But also, maybe not next year. The women are good, though. Just beat TCU.
How many ranked teams are in the Big 12 in all seriousness? Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a good basketball league.
Good crew.
Yeah, it's a good league. Now, maybe the bottom won't be great. I was giving Kansas State probably too much credit. They're off to an 0-2 start. Arizona State's terrible. I guess the jury's still out on the Utes. Kidding. But the honestly,
Thanks for the clarification.
The rest of the league should be decent. I don't know much about TCU this year.
It's such a hard spot for Alex Jensen to be in.
Does Kansas and Bill Self and his Toop bounce back?
If what we have heard about the football team, Guy Holiday said this, that Utah just doesn't have the money to compete in football the way I think some people might expect them to be able to. What does that mean for the basketball program? Because again, some of these teams probably have $10 million basketball teams.
Honestly, if they were smart,
Some of these schools, I should say.
And I don't know if I actually believe this, but you might think of leaning away from football and leaning into basketball.
Become a basketball school.
It's cheaper to have a good basketball team than it is a good football team.
Yeah. It's amazing just how little support there is for the program, for the basketball program. And I get it. They have not rewarded people for going, and it's been 20 years since they mattered, but it's dead.
Yeah. I don't know, chicken or the egg?
Yeah, it's both.
I definitely don't think the answer is build them a $2 billion new building.
Nope. Well, they built the last facility under Kraskowiak, and it didn't do anything.
No, I'm talking about the plans for Fort Douglas.
You're right, but they already built a new practice facility, and were saying that was going to bring in better recruits. And that didn't do anything.
But that's the stadium. I mean, that's the next thing. I'm saying the solution to fans not going to Utah basketball games is
for the fans
is
itself.
not the facility.
Yeah, you're talking about the egg, not the chicken.
The facility isn't great. I could just see somebody somewhere going, boy, the Huntsman Center is way out of date. You know why people aren't going? It's because the facility sucks. Yeah. Let's spend $1 billion on a new facility. That's what I'm talking about. I don't want to see.
Yeah. You're not going to start packing it just because it's a new building.
That's what I'm saying.
If the team stinks, no one's going to care.
Right.
Yeah.
See the Intuit Dome.
So, and I'm not blaming,
nobody goes to.
I'm not blaming Alex Jensen. He just got here. He's trying to clean up several other people's messes, but I don't see the pathway.
All right.
Really tough.
Stay tuned. We'll have more coming up next. A bizarre statement coming out of the NBA world we can get to, and more. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Let's talk a little NBA here, Ben. Trae Young, your guy, has released a statement.
Finally.
It's about being traded, and it's lengthy, and I would say it's bizarre.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. You could read into a lot, though, and I'm curious to your reaction. First of all, he starts it with a scripture.
Okay.
For I know
I'm not laughing at the scripture.
No. For I don't even need to read the scripture. Honestly, it's a Jeremiah scripture talking about the Lord's plan. He adds, "Never thought I'd be typing this. The last few years weren't how I wanted them to be. Expectations that we created for ourselves, reaching heights that Atlanta has never reached before. Bringing a championship to Atlanta was always my goal. However, between the injuries, the setbacks, and situations that don't make any sense, we never truly got to see our full potential. The city that raised me and taught me so much will always be a chapter in this story, and on and on and on. He goes, however, the pain of staying, I should read this part. However, the pain of staying the same eventually outweighed the uncertainty of change. Change is often met with fear, but I see it as another opportunity. I'm walking into this next chapter ecstatic, with my head high and my eyes forward. It's time to see what's possible when the support is real and the vision is clear. We move. Trae Young.
Two things. One, I don't understand why the beginning of his story, or his little statement here below Jeremiah 29:11, is off center. On all the rest of it is centered. It's a line to the left. I don't understand why the formatting is so poor on this statement. But along those lines, he certainly seems to be calling out that nobody in Atlanta believed him anymore.
Yeah, he really hates Atlanta.
Several times he goes back to, I don't understand why they made any of these moves. And also, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the support is real and the vision is clear. Kind of taking some shots at the Hawks on his way out the door.
Very different from Gordon Hayward's Players Tribune thing where he fluffed the Jazz and
Boy,
everybody didn't
what a
believe
ride
him.
it's been.
Yeah. This is like, God, this is a disaster. I do love the self-compliment, though. Like, the reason it didn't work is because we didn't live up to the expectations that I created with unbelievable success never before seen with the Hawks.
Yeah, right.
Also, when I think of clear vision, I immediately think of the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, right. When I think of good
And support, yeah.
Yeah.
But how about that? He basically is saying that Dominique Wilkins was a clown.
It was the color analyst's fault.
Well, he's saying Atlanta's never gotten to these heights that I took everybody.
Yeah. Dominic is the color analyst, which he's got to be the best player color analyst in the NBA. I don't mean he's the best color analyst. I mean best former player.
That is currently
with all due respect to John Crotty and Big Teeth Earl Bailey.
You love John Crotty.
Big Crotty guy. But yeah,
Speaking of tubes,
a Hall of Famer. What's he doing over there? Yeah, weird shots at the entire organization historically and the current administration.
Bananas. Now, see, how much is that of sour grapes because Quinn and the franchise figured out that he's not very good?
Yes, that.
And how much is it a signal of dysfunction within the franchise?
Also that. And if you were to tell me that there's some dysfunction in a team somewhat led by Quinn Snyder, I guess I would believe that. Not that I think Quinn was particularly destructive here, but I think you and I have theorized, and maybe with some good background knowledge, that he has a hard time telling people no, specifically players.
Or what they don't want to hear.
Or what they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So I wonder if things just kind of spiral a little bit on Quinn because he doesn't run the tightest ship in that sense. He runs a tight ship in other ways, but maybe not in that sense. So I could see how things would get away from him there. And yeah, it gets a little bit messy. And the only answer is like, well, just get rid of that guy.
I just wonder, the mystery has always been to me, why on earth would Quinn Snyder have taken that job when he did? It made absolutely no sense. The only way I could make it make sense to me is that he really doesn't have any interest in winning. That's not his top priority. I think his top priority might be
Power.
Power. Because we did see that some here, but longevity. Like I want to do my thing and be left alone for a long period of time.
Certainly.
I don't want to.
Yeah, which is you could blend with power. Right.
But I think that's part of why he took the Jazz job is because the Jazz don't fire their coaches.
Right.
He could stay with the Jazz forever, and he did. Mm-hmm. You could stay with Atlanta forever and not with a dang thing.
Yeah.
And not get fired.
Yeah, you're never going to be in a championship or bust situation with.
And then you can tell players to go out and do whatever you want.
In fact, Atlanta has been truly one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA this season. Like they are well below 500.
Not just this season, to Trey's point.
But yes, but they also went out and made a bunch of moves this year. Like a lot of people, including myself, were on the Hawks bandwagon, and they're 4 or 5 games below 500. I don't have the standings in front of me right now, but yeah, they're not playing well. So, and to that point, there's no heat on Quinn Snyder at all. In fact, Trey is taking all the heat.
Yeah, you can throw Trey under the bus, but it eventually gets to the coach. But not if the franchise doesn't expect to win.
Yeah.
Not if the fans don't expect to win.
Do you expect? Here, I'll see if I can pull up some of these splits real quick of how well they've played without him and with him. But
with Trey?
Yeah.
It's stark.
But do you expect them to suddenly be like a really good team?
No, they're still going to
that's
be
the problem.
absolutely average.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, you get rid of Trey, and maybe that helps. And look, nobody is more lineup-driven and analytics-driven than Quinn Snyder. Will Hardy had I think he meant it as a compliment. I kind of read it as a backhanded compliment, which is just like, I asked him, like, hey, what does Quinn do well? You've worked with him. What do you think about what he does well? And Will said, nobody in the NBA is better at seeing numbers and putting it on the floor. Basically, like reading the analytics and translating that to on-court execution. But also it seemed a little bit like, well, how are you reading that? Are you not reading what else is going on the floor? I think that is a real problem with Quinn Snyder. I could see Quinn looking at the numbers, because he did this a lot in Utah, and just saying, oh, we're so much better without Trey on the floor. Get rid of Trey and everything will be right. The same way he said, well, we're way better with Rudy on the floor. Let's just try and have 48 minutes of Rudy Gobert with Hassan Whiteside or whoever. And that was the exact wrong answer. You needed a change of gear. You needed somebody who shifted away from what you were able to do. I wonder if even losing Trey is not actually going to help them as much as they think.
I know. What if I guard James Harden from behind?
What if it's backwards?
What if we
backwards?
Because the math says
The step back's a good shot.
that he makes so many step backs.
Watch this. We're behind you. Jazz, Rockets in 5.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't see Atlanta going anywhere. But
Yeah, that's the
but
thing.
honestly, this is the move they had to make. They're probably making this move a year too late, a year and a half too late.
First of all, Trey's only played 10 games this year, which is crazy. So you can't certainly hang everything on him. But to be fair, they are 2-8 when he played this year.
Yeah, they're worse because they can't guard anybody.
Yeah, the Hawks were 2-8 this
and
season.
he makes other players worse, not better.
And the Hawks overall are 18-21. So they are 5 games. Let's see, 2-8. So you're 6 games below 500.
But that makes them what, second place in the East?
So they would be
That was a joke.
16-13. They'd be 3 games above 500 right now. 16-13. But yeah, that is very firmly in the Eastern Conference playoff chase right now. Like you're above the Cavaliers at that point.
So as long as we're talking about dysfunction and culture and is it good or bad, you wrote about this, and we've been kind of wanting to play this Kevin Love clip. We've had to clean it up a little bit because it was on a podcast, right?
And Kevin Love is at the doesn't give a care stage of his career. Uses
but
whatever language. He wants to.
let's play his quotes about being here and what's going on with the Jazz.
And I tell the guys, like, you don't know how good you have it here. This is my 4th team now, different organizations, different owners, coaching staffs. I've been on teams that have revolving doors. I've been on, I think, just about the youngest team in the league, a 15-win team, 17-win team. I've been on a team that's won the championship. So in seeing all of it, these guys, a lot of them only know what they know, just being in one organization. And being elsewhere, that's like what I'm trying to tell them is like, you have an owner that knows your name, like every player. And then you have a GM, a president, you have Danny Ainge that is like, no, we believe in you. We want you to grow. You're allowed to f up. You're allowed to have mistakes. And we're going to have grace in allowing you to take a step forward and be better and get better. So we want to improve so that you're one of our guys and we're going to build you up through this roster and through this organization. Like Will just puts his arm around him and is like, you're good. You don't get that everywhere. You don't get that everywhere. And I think it's part of being, his temperament. I hate to call him a young coach because I'm an old player and we're the same age. But no, I think that might be lost on guys because it's something that they don't really understand or they know because it's all that they know this early in their career. Or maybe, like I said, this is the only place that they've been. But I think it's on the veterans and guys like myself to let them know, like, hey, you have an unbelievable opportunity here to grow and play the long game.
What are your read on that? I actually have 3 things I take from that. One of them is I doubt that's verbatim what Danny Ainge said, but maybe it is.
I think it's a lot better here now under 2 consecutive ownerships than the reputation.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much on purpose because they're trying to fix the reputation. And it's taken a variety of forms over the years. But if you can get players to understand, it's almost like Coach Witt's recruiting line that he always said, where if we can get them on campus, then our chances of landing them are greatly, greatly improved because there's a lot of misinformation, to steal a buzzword, out there about Salt Lake City and about Utah. And it apparently is winter 365 days a year, and the people are weird and all this stuff that's not true. And then you get people here, and it's like, all right. And I think the Jazz have made a concerted effort to do that, almost overcorrecting in a way. But I think it's important for the Jazz, and always has been, to do things correctly. Like, do you know how bad you have to run your franchise to turn players off of L.A.?
Yeah.
Well, the Clippers have done it.
Clippers have figured it out.
You know?
Yeah. The Knicks did it for a long time.
The Knicks did it for a long time. You know how bad you have to run your franchise
to not love Manhattan?
Yeah, or Miami. And Miami's the opposite
Yeah.
example, where they've been run pretty well and have taken advantage of where they are. But people out there, and it's still true, unfortunately, have ideas about what it's like to play in Utah and for the Jazz. And the Jazz can control their side of that by making the experience for players as positive as possible. And it's never possible to have it 100% of the time. But if you can do the right things and have the right structure and have a good reputation, maybe some of that can be overcome. So the fact that Kevin Love's even saying something like that on a podcast makes a big difference, in my opinion. I always defended Carlos Boozer after he left here because he did nothing but say nice things about Utah and his experience here. And even he was on a Miami radio show and the hosts were clowning Utah, and he stopped them mid-sentence and he said, "You guys don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
And player after player goes somewhere else, experiences that the grass isn't always all that greener, and then comes back and says, "Oh, it was pretty good under that Jerry Sloan. It was pretty good under Utah. It was pretty good getting all that attention." You know, it happens over and over and over again. So if you can convince young players, like, listen, you don't understand. Like, life is good here. The facility is good. The lifestyle is good. The coaching is good. The development is good. They let you make mistakes. It's if you could drive that home into young players' minds, then maybe you can make a difference. See, the thing is, let's say Keontae blows up. He's an all-star and all this. Bet you bottom dollar someone gets in his ear and says, "God, you'd be a superstar if you weren't in Utah."
Imagine if you were in Miami.
Imagine if you were somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's so great. Darren Williams, go to Brooklyn. You're going to be the talk of the town in New York. You've got this new rich owner, this Russian murder guy. Going to absolutely blow up. And then Darren comes back and goes, "It was pretty good here. It was pretty good under that Jerry Sloan." Deshaun Stevenson was always the shocking one to me.
Yeah.
Because he did not have a good experience here. He did not get off on the right foot. He had legal trouble before he even got to the team. He did not perform well. He obviously did not mesh with Jerry Sloan. And he did not last a long time here. And then he goes somewhere else and he goes, "Wow, I didn't understand what I had. That was pretty dang good." I mean, right down to the fans' attention. The Jazz matter here. The players are a big deal here.
Well, Kevin Love brings it up. He says the owner knows your name. He knows every player's name. Ryan's a huge basketball fan. He's a huge Jazz fan. So, yeah, Ryan knows your name because he's as big a basketball fan as there is.
And he's going to invest in it.
And he will. The things that jumped out to me, first of all, and Yusuf Nurkic had a very similar conversation with us about a week ago, and kind of not dissimilar statements, but not at the same time. This wasn't on a podcast. This was just Yusuf Nurkic talking to us after a game. Echoed everything that Kevin Love said. And they both brought up Ryan Smith, Danny Ainge, and Will Hardy specifically, which I thought was really interesting. People have always thought that Danny Ainge is the Grim Reaper, and I don't think anyone inside the locker room feels that way. That was one thing that stood out to me, and that Danny still plays a big role here. Second was, I am curious if this is a player talking about players or if this is a player talking about the ability to win. You have the ability to grow here, have a great life here, have a great career here. Does that mean you can win here? I don't know if that's what Kevin Love is actually preaching.
No, I don't think he meant winning at all.
Yeah.
I don't think that had anything to do with what he was talking about.
Yeah, I think he's specifically talking player to player. You can have a good career here.
Yeah, all the peripheral stuff. It's all good. I mean, it's the entire opposite of your experience in Europe, for example. I'm just looking for an extreme.
Yeah.
As if you don't have structure and you have a bad owner and you have all this stuff. He played for Minnesota at probably its most dysfunctional. He played for Cleveland for a bad owner.
Yeah.
In a, considering how good they were, extremely dysfunctional situation. And LeBron brings that, and Kevin had to figure out that whole mess. He played for Miami, which is a good franchise, but kind of going nowhere. I mean,
And had to watch dysfunction with Jimmy Butler, et cetera.
Right. And so he knows the good and the bad, and that's the perspective I think he's giving. I don't think it has anything to do with winning it.
Yeah, so I do think Jazz fans should recognize that. I think he's talking specifically to players.
But that stuff leads to winning because the Jazz have got to figure out how to get their players to stay here.
That is a big part of it. And here's the third part of it. Do you think what Kevin Love says actually matters? When you were 19, and you're a little weird, you like to carry a pocket watch around. When you were 19, did you listen to what 40-year-olds were saying? I didn't.
Guess who is, though?
You would hope so.
Guess who is? It's the guy whose locker is next to, and they've both talked about it.
You would hope that Keontae is. And look, Keontae has made a remarkable shift. But you hope that what the old guy says actually matters, and I wonder if it does. I'm skeptical.
Well, frankly, I don't care what Elijah Harkless thinks about what Kevin Love has to say. It doesn't matter.
But you do care what Ace Bailey thinks.
Right, and you do care what Keontae George thinks because he's proving himself to be a real dude.
But you know what? The Jazz had veterans that were telling Deshaun Stevenson and Darren Williams the same thing. Hey, man, this is pretty good. Hey, man, this is pretty good.
And he didn't listen. I get your point.
Those guys weren't first ballot Hall of Famers. Well, John Stockton and Karl Malone were if they were talking to Deshaun Stevenson. They may not have. And they didn't have perspective either because they had never played anywhere else.
I don't think
Kevin Love has played elsewhere.
I don't think Darren got any of that. I don't think Donovan Mitchell got any of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who it would have been, like Boris Diaw.
No,
nope.
I don't think either one. I mean, Karl Malone comes back around and tries to tell Carlos Boozer how great it is. I don't think Darren or Donovan got any of that. I'd be curious to hear Donovan's take on the Jazz after it all settles.
Yeah, of course. But I'm skeptical of how much this will matter, with the understanding that Kevin Love is a Hall of Famer, is somebody that all of these guys watched growing up in the NBA when he was leading the league in rebounding and making all-star games or beating the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs to win a championship with Cleveland. That stuff does matter, and you may be a little bit more willing to listen, but I'm not sure this is going to change the culture dramatically as far as players leaving Utah or not. But here's the thing. I'm not sure Keontae was looking to bolt Utah before Kevin Love. Keontae's a weird guy, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all, in a derogatory way at all. He does not have some of that fame seeking that some of these other players have, and I don't think he's ever had it.
I don't know about that. Well, he hasn't been good until now. We'll see.
We'll see
how it goes.
Get to a contract negotiation, and then we'll talk.
And that sounded really mean. I didn't mean that. But
no, you're totally right. He didn't have any power to want to go anywhere else.
Right. Exactly. He was trying to stay in the league.
Yeah. Once you become the 25th best player in the league, which he's there, he's getting there very quickly, and all of a sudden everybody wants you, then what happens?
Yep. Stay tuned. Wrapping up the show next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got him made Jakes and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my. From the islands to the basketball courts, they mainly engage in their thoughts. Jay's got wisdom beyond his years. Ben's got stories to make you cheer. Jake and Ben.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, thank you for making us a part of your Football Friday. Hey, Ben, I want to defend my guy Gordon a little bit. Gordon got raked over the coals on the old Snap Talk yesterday.
Okay.
You read his column.
I did.
He said Utah has three types of fans right now reacting to Coach Witt. And one of those types of fans is the angry fan who is bitter toward Kyle leaving. Mm-hmm. And Kyle's daughter, I think, took a screenshot of just that part of it.
Yes, Gordon basically put on the hat of each of these fans and then wrote from the perspective of those fans.
Right. And so she picked just that part and put it out there and said that she's hurt by the reaction to her father leaving. Am I essentially getting that right?
Yeah.
And then that turned into pile on Gordon,
Yeah.
which, hey, I made piling on Gordon a sport back when we hosted together. But I saw some pretty wild stuff out there about bias and all this sort of thing. And I got to tell you, Gordon writes controversial things and doesn't need anybody to defend him. But I do feel for people whose stuff is taken out of context. It's happened to me a bunch of times. And you get rolled over for no reason because it's not what you said anyway. And it just gets taken out. And I don't know. There are plenty of good reasons to for the Twitter mob to roll over Gordon. You know, just wait for another column if you're really that eager to do it. I thought that was a little unfair yesterday.
Not to talk about a rival and another writer locally, but like Gordon's as good at doing this as anybody we've had in the state. That's why he is Gordon Monson. That's why people behind the scenes in our media call him the Godfather. Like, you guys don't think Gordon knew what he was doing? Like, have some respect for a journalist who knows exactly what he's writing in the response. You don't think Gordon knew this is the response he was going to get? Like, get a clue.
Yeah.
And I get it. What you're saying, you're right. People did take it out of context. Does Gordon know his articles can get taken out of context? 1,000%. Is he okay with it and hitting publish on the article? 100%.
I think a lot of the Ute fans are mad at the angry fans and then used Gordon as their tool to communicate to the Whittingham family, no, we love you, and we appreciate you, and all this stuff, which is fine. I will defend the angry fan. I don't blame a fan.
Yeah, you came in Monday hot. Saying fans should be mad at it.
Why wouldn't you be? You know, it's your team. You're a Utah fan. You're not a Kyle Whittingham fan. And, you know, Ben, when Coca-Cola changes CEOs, are you bent out of shape about it, or do you go get your Coke Zero from the? I don't even know if you drink Coke Zero. Your Coca-Cola from the break room. Of course, I mean, it's what fans can be mad. I don't understand fans' reaction to all sorts of stuff, but absolutely they can. I totally get it. I get it in this circumstance.
But
I don't blame family for being hurt, I guess, but I don't know why the Whittinghams would care.
Or think that it wouldn't be inevitable. Like you didn't think this was going to be controversial?
And honestly, to your point, if you really want your flowers from the Utah fan base and the university itself, well, wait for your dad to retire a couple of years.
Yeah, the truth is
he's still coaching.
Where I'm a Witt fan, I've said that a lot. Like I just thought what he did at Utah was really impressive, and I thought his evolution, kind of as a person, which was not he didn't make a right angle turn. It wasn't 90 degrees, but he changed. Certainly, he evolved. His arc was interesting. His arc was interesting, I should say. But if you wanted your flowers and you wanted to go out on top, you don't get to take the Michigan job.
No.
Witt said it. Kyle said it. Kyle said, I don't want to be the guy who coaches forever or doesn't know when to leave.
Yeah.
He left and then took a bigger job. Like, Kyle's a very smart person. Kyle knows how he's being perceived. He knew how he was going to be perceived.
But this is a family member, which also makes it kind of unfair. They're going to have an emotional reaction.
They're going to have an emotional response. And
I'm
not blaming them either.
Yeah, I'm not here to blame anybody for that. Although I do think it was a little unfair what she did to old Gordo. But
to take an article out of context is always, I don't want to say dangerous. It's not dangerous. It's always can be misread. And she pulled something out and put it out there, and it gained a lot of traction. And as a result, is getting misread. I will also say this, though, as somebody who writes a lot, and I write every day, and Gordon's a much better writer, has been writing a lot longer than I have. You recognize as second as you put it on paper or digital or whatever and get away from it, it is up to people to interpret however they want. It no longer belongs to you.
Well, it's true with our podcast. It's the reason I got raked over the coals by the Texas Tech fans.
Exactly right. As soon as you say it.
Yeah, and I certainly get it, but I have sympathy for the out of context thing. This has nothing to do with Kyle Whittingham's daughter, but selective editing in general is actually a huge problem in like media. And I mean, if you ever watched the Colbert Report, not his current show, but his old show, where he would just do these selective edits with his interviews, and it would come off absolutely hilarious, but it would humiliate whoever was getting selectively interviewed.
Right.
You know, I think the news media actually does that all the time, and it's really frustrating. But I think the point you made is the best one, and maybe we'll end on it.
my favorite place to end.
You don't get your flowers and your tributes and your appreciation if you take the other job. You get that if you step down and retire and, still show up at alumni events and stuff. You're going to get all of that sort of attention.
And Witt could have had that if he wanted.
He could have.
That's what he wanted. It was right there for him.
And he probably still could, depending on how things go.
Oh, he will be welcomed
He will.
back.
Give it 5-10 years.
Yeah, but the
It'll
next week,
2 years.
The next week is not. I mean, not.
But you're not going to get it right away.
Right.
And then you take coaches and players with you. There are people inside the organization, legends from that school, that are really mad at Kyle Whittingham.
Oh, John Henry Daly just signed with Michigan today.
Yeah, there are people that are really mad at Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah. So anyway, the mad fans can be mad. It's all right. Yeah. And the Whittinghams, you know what? You'll be treated like the football royalty family that you are forever. You're just not going to get the kudos today.
But it's a fresh wound right now.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned. Hanson, Scotty G are coming up
Thanks,
next.
Christian.
We'll talk to you on Monday. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.